Yo, what's good YouTube? It's boardzy, and this is going to be a review of the ASUS TUF Gaming M4 Air, a new mouse from ASUS that weighs in at only 47 grams. It's a wired mouse, and I'll be completely honest, it's not really going to disrupt the market. It's just one of those mice where it's like, wow, this could be sold by a random company on Amazon for $20, and I wouldn't be able to tell the difference in terms of quality. It's a wired mouse rocking a 3335 sensor. But yeah, I was getting spammed with like requests to review this, I guess, because ASUS is a pretty big brand and 47 grams is a lightweight. So like on paper, yes, this mouse has a lot of potential. But at least for me, I got it in hand and was like, okay, this is nothing special. It's certainly solid for the price point that is $50, but we've had mice like the Cooler Master MM710, which are really only a few grams heavier than this, that have been out for fucking years. So it's nothing like a 47 gram wired mouse is nothing revolutionary. The wire is pretty terrible. The cable is very thin and stiff, as you can see. It's like holding its shape. It's not very flexible, and you 100% can feel it while you're moving the mouse around. One of the reasons is because the mouse is so light, of course, so having a heavier, not a heavy, but having the weight of a cable is, you're going to feel that when making motions, even when it is in a bungee. So that does kind of take points away from the experience, along with the fact that the weight isn't balanced especially well. The mouse is pretty front heavy. It's nothing that makes the mouse like hot garbage in use, but again, it's really not a premium experience. So just slapping that like number that is 47 grams, it's not going to mean that it has a solid lightweight mouse experience. In terms of the actual shell, I am kind of surprised by the sidewalls. They're pretty strong. If I put like an excessive amount of force, the side buttons will activate, but nothing serious. I'll be honest, I was surprised that there were not any issues with creaking on the shell, but there is an issue with the main buttons that I have where these things just grind. They feel like a very low quality switch implementation. I think these are Omron 60Ms. It's very hard to track down the specs on this mouse, let me tell you, but I saw that they're rated for 60 million clicks, and the only switch I could think of would be the Omron 60Ms, and they just don't feel especially good. They are pretty light and spammable. They don't have a very crisp or tactile feeling, but that's not too much of an issue. You just want clicks that are going to work well in game, and I would say that these sort of pass that, but if you are like slamming or putting a lot of pressure down, there is going to be, at least in my case, a creaking and grinding feeling on the left click. And that could just be a problem with my unit, but in around a week of use on this mouse, the clicks have already noticeably deteriorated in terms of quality. There's some like side play that you can certainly feel as well. In terms of pre and post travel, it's actually not tuned too badly, but if you hit the clicks from a weird angle, there will be a lot of pre-travel, but nobody's going to hit the left click from that angle, so it's not worth worrying about. But it's just another thing, you can fucking click the super light anywhere and it's going to still feel essentially the same, while you cannot say that about the ASUS TUF Gaming M4 Air. And yeah, I can't really say that the overall experience with the clicks is great. If I hadn't done my research, I would guess these are Omron 20Ms. They just feel like a standard, just Omron experience. So yeah, nothing really premium, but that's not what this mouse is offering to be. Look at this thing. It's fucking ugly. This thing is made for performance. 47 grams of pure performance. So let's answer, how does it perform? Actually, just using this mouse as a whole, considering the shape, these weird fucking triangle designs on the side, it just feels cheap. I think the weight balancing and the cable are issues for me as well, because the mouse is very hollow in the back, so it just has a very cheap, somewhat hollow feeling. I'm not one to say that like light mice usually feel cheap, but this one in specific, this just kind of feels like some garbage. And all around, this mouse just feels overwhelmingly decent. It's a release that could have happened, honestly, over a year ago. There's nothing in terms of the specs that are new. It's using the 3335 sensor, like I mentioned before. Big companies, ASUS, HyperX, they fucking love cheaping out on the sensor. So of course there's a 3335 in here. I don't know why, but they have the sensor ring flipped horizontally when normally a mouse's sensor ring is vertical. I mean, that's just like, can anybody explain why they would possibly do that? So I think the sensor is positioned a bit to the right of the mouse. It's nothing I can feel in game, but it's just kind of bizarre. No issues with the LOD on the sensor either. I just realized I totally forgot to go over the shape. This does feel like a somewhat generic, just large, high-profile ambi mouse. It's a very safe shape. The sides are extremely flat, and then the hump is very large and rounded. That's another thing worth mentioning. This is by no means a small mouse. I would say that the shape is safe for a large variety of hand sizes, but definitely compared to something like the Superlight, it's wider at the grip width, and the hump just feels more aggressive in the back of my palm personally with larger 21 by 11 hands. So if you have small hands, I would kind of avoid this mouse, but medium to large hands, you should be safe, whether it be a claw or a palm grip. For me personally, the shape just feels too large to claw grip and actually make good micro corrections. My palm just feels like kind of stuck in the hump of this mouse. The shape feels best for like a relaxed fingertip grip because of how flat these sides are, but that's nothing I would really want to main this mouse overall. I guess I was just looking forward to it because I was getting so many requests, and then I get it in hand and it's like, okay, this thing's pretty meh. A few of the features I missed were like the side buttons. They're honestly positioned well. They're pretty heavy to activate, but they don't feel mushy at all, and there's no issues with like pre or post travel. And they were fine for using in Fortnite. The scroll wheel is kind of low quality. I had some creaking issues with it, especially when I click it down. It's like very mushy and creaky, so that's no good. The wheel itself is pretty silent. The steps aren't too well defined. It's a pretty average wheel. And the stock skates are really good, surprisingly. Just like, that's where they invested. They could have invested into anything, but they just chose weight and stock skates. But yeah, no joke. These perform really well on like every artisan pad I was using. Broke them in on the glass pads. Inspiring, really inspiring mouse skates. But obviously this mouse is not going to get the seal of approval. Also, the coating is pretty shit, pretty cheap feeling. And this triangle design just like makes me so angry. Like, they should not have done it on the sides at the very least. Like, it does not give you more grip. I feel like I have a million minor grievances with this mouse. At the end of the day, I was still able to perform well with it. It's just not a top tier mouse for me. It is only $50 though on Amazon. It's available in a lot of places as well, since ASUS is such a large company. But it's just kind of annoying. Large companies like this, they just find ways to cut corners and not put out the highest quality product. So yeah, don't expect perfection. But at the end of the day, it could still be a good fit for some people, maybe with larger hands who don't mind the generic shape, use a more relaxed grip style. For $50, if you want a lightweight mouse, it's not a terrible option. I do wish that they could come out with a proper wireless version of this in the future, because that will fix one of the issues, which is obviously the cable. If they could only increase the weight by a few grams, maybe put that towards the back of the mouse, fix the weight balancing as well, I think that could be a spectacular mouse. So yeah, they should fix the clicks as well. So there's many things to address, but I think that this could, upon revision, be a solid mouse. Also, ASUS, they're rich enough for a fucking $33.95 if they do make a wireless version. So yeah, hopefully they take my advice and make a new mouse, because this one I'm personally never going to come back to. But if they want me to design one for them, they could email me, I suppose. But that's going to be all for this video. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed.